You can now produce pure and endless colloidal silver with the Silver Lungs generator. Very easy to follow, step-by-step instructions are provided, making production fast and simple. Go to www.silverlungs.com today and learn more about the breakthrough technology of the Silver Lungs generator. That's www.silverlungs.com.
Leading a frontal assault on the lies of the New World Order. It's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
So, Bloomberg and other major publications report that over $27 trillion, 16.6 of it was secret until lawsuits were filed and it finally came out a few months ago, was paid to mainly foreign megabanks and domestic media. MSNBC got hundreds and hundreds of millions to sit up there and demonize anybody that cares about this country. That is government paid for, Federal Reserve paid for, private banker paid for, propaganda with your money. And they've got all these HBO films like 1% with the elitist rich kid going public. And, oh, let's tax the rich. They mean people making $100,000 a year. The global elite are exempt. They want austerity money. They get the new VAT and sales tax that are being pushed for by Bill O'Reilly on one side of the spectrum and on the other, George Soros and Warren Buffett. So we're going to be breaking that down. Now, here's Roseanne Barr making the point that we should behead the bankers. Roseanne Barr, behead the bankers rich who won't give up their wealth. Well, if somebody made a widget and made $1 billion, great, or wrote a book, and you know, Mark Twain made hundreds and hundreds of millions in today's money. Some would argue billions. Should he be strung up? Somebody who invents a new piece of medical equipment? No. That's reasonable. That's good. That's what creates wealth. We know communism doesn't work unless you think working is total tyranny and death and enslavement. But this idea that all rich are bad, that's all being funded by Wall Street. And Drudge Report has top linked our articles on that, breaking down the fact the White House is funding this mainline Occupy Wall Street group. At least the people getting the attention on the news are MoveOn.org, George Soros, White House people, the unions. And they now admitted that this morning, that, yeah, we've been involved from the beginning and we're totally running it now. Don't you people that attacked me over the weekend feel stupid again? I mean, all I'm doing is reporting the facts here. Just to say capitalism's bad, Wall Street's bad. That's a pretty big target, isn't it? No, we're talking about the private Federal Reserve that lobbies for open borders. We're going to be talking about that in a moment with William Gheen, the head of ALIPAC, with an update on some of the treason going on. But first, I wanted to get to this Roseanne Barr clip. Here it is.
Ways. I first would allow the guilty bankers to pay, the ability to pay back anything over $100 million personal wealth, because I believe in a maximum wage of $100 million. And if they're unable to live on that amount, then they should, go to the re-education camps, and if that doesn't help, then be beheaded.
Now, we just recently saw the guillotine rolled out in a huge protest in Israel. 500,000 people in the streets.
I remember when I had the Zeitgeist guy on, and I said, I don't want to go live in your plastic city and have a computer run everything. Who programs the computer? And he said, well, you'll be sent to a re-education center. And I recently called him up and said, why don't you come back on? Let's have a friendly discussion. Peter Joseph, that's a stage name, I guess. And he said, okay, I'm going to send you a list of things you got to admit were wrong. And I said, well, I want to be friendly. If something's wrong, tell me. He sent me stuff and said he didn't say that. I went back to the video, and there it was. And I was like, well, I didn't say that. And he's like, well, I'm not coming on then. Well, fine. So I mean, this is Roseanne Barr, I think, was saying that to be flippant to get attention. I don't think she really thinks we should send people to re-education camps. This is a woman that's made tens of millions of dollars. It's always rich people that want the guy making $125,000 a year to pay more money to foreign banks. Here's Michael Moore, then we're going to our guest. Here it is.
Michael, what do you think about ending the Federal Reserve banking system, the private banking system?
I think there's a larger issue. There's a larger issue to deal with.
And the Fed, it's a private bank.
And capitalism, that's the problem. Capitalism. Capitalism has to go.
Okay, folks, so I gave this time, I deliberated. I researched it for 2 weeks, and it's just what I saw day one, but I didn't want to come out and say it day one. Now the media says this is the revolution, and it's communism, run by a bunch of rich people. Because that's where they got their money, was through government financing and government jobs and government bailouts. Oh, yeah, Hollywood's one of the biggest recipients of that. Now, I take you to William Gheen with just a quick update, frequent guest of the show, ALIPAC.us. That's Americans for Legal Immigration. And I wanted to just go over the waterfront with him briefly here today because a lot's happening. Not with a bang, but with a whimper. Obama just said, we're not going to basically deport illegals anymore. And when they do arrest illegals, it's been confirmed. Even Fox News has reported they actually give them green cards on the spot or hire them to build the fence. But I can't go to Mexico, though. If I'm an illegal, they'll put me in forced labor for 6 months to a year. But that's okay as America goes bankrupt. And he's also been putting out press releases on Ricky Bobby there, and a lot more. So with the latest is America's only real no-compromise group defending the sovereignty of this country. And it's good to have you on with us, sir.
Hey, glad to be with you, Alex. A quick question before we get into the main topic here. A lot of times when you do your show, do you find that like your private conversations with friends and family and stuff like that end up influencing what you end up presenting to the public sometimes, or help your thoughts or ideas sort of progress a good bit?
Elaborate on that. I mean, explain exactly what you're asking.
Well, I just got back from a weekend with some very close friends and family members, and we carried on conversations about these topics, globalism, illegal immigration, and things like that. And I find that after spending time with certain people, my wording and how I want to word things and how I want to communicate things seems to develop a bit when I'm not on the air. Sometimes it develops on the air in the course of an interview, but I guess my point being is that I find that a lot of the content that I end up coming to the table with on a show like yours develops in private conversations. And
yes, I totally agree with you. It's all happening in real, common sense, out-of-the-box discussions, not in this fake Alice in Wonderland thing that the mainstream media puts out. Yes, I see what you're saying.
Well, and I think so. Even folks that are not on the air like you and I are part of the national conversation or the development of these ideas that are going on out there. But that being said, it makes me wonder who North Carolina Governor Bev Perdue's been talking with in private, and maybe Roseanne Barr and some of these others that recently have started to let slip some real draconian ideas. It makes me wonder about some of their private conversation and who bends their ears behind the scene when they're not projecting.
Well, their public conversation is about martial law, re-education camps, suspending elections. I mean, this is a scary group. And Adam Kokesh had a video with Occupy Wall Street people there in D.C., who are, liberal Obama supporters from major universities, and they said we're going to use government to be authoritarian, to rob the rich, and then it's Wall Street, the same ones that want globalism, that are financing these people.
Well, what may be happening here, Alex, so based off my personal experience, is that while they're not being asked to project these messages and they're not being asked to present this to the public, people around them and with them are having these conversations.
Yes.
They're just and when they're speaking off the cuff to a Kiwanis meeting or on a talk radio show, and they didn't get enough sleep last night, and their guard is down, it's manifesting because we're really hearing it from. And the only reason I would speculate on that is because we're hearing it from so many different directions.
No, I don't think you're speculating, and I'm a little dense. Now I get where you're going. Absolutely. This is what they talk about behind closed doors, William. Just a few months ago, I had a prominent, quote, civil rights activist down here to interview for a film. And we went out to dinner, and the guy had a few drinks, and he said, we're really communist, and we're going to kill everybody. And I just kind of said, okay, dinner's over, and I'm not even really going to use the interview. But when you get, I mean, this is it. They're planning to kill everybody. I mean, this is really a red terror.
Well, they sort of have to if they're going to at a certain point of it. And, I think that, people accuse some of us of being a bit exaggerated. We're not. A new term that I've just started to use regarding illegal immigration, I want to convey the meaning and the power of the situation we face is illegal immigration neutron bomb. It's a way that they can take this country and leave all the assets in place by merely removing the people that once lived here and replacing us with other people that are more malleable to their globalist plans. And,
Well, that's right. If somebody asks me why am I against these wide open borders and illegal immigration, it's because I've seen the numbers, and I know you've studied them. Over 90% tend to end up voting absolute hardcore liberal Democrat, anti-gun, socialism. And you've seen how that's done for folks in Mexico. 40,000 dead in the last 3 years, worse than Vietnam per year. And the elite uses that system to control the people. And, I mean, that's it. And this is how the globalists want to destroy America.
And that's how everybody listening out there, that's your future. In your future, you won't have guns like we do now. People in Mexico, only the government and the thugs are allowed to have guns legally. Everybody else is powerless. And you will be controlled with bodies and corpses hung from overpasses with their genitalia exposed as a message to those of you that might even whisper any type of resistance on a social media website. This is how people live under autocratic regimes or totalitarian regimes, and it's exactly where we're headed, and it's where I believe very powerful global forces want to take us. And illegal immigration is key to it because they can't overthrow the United States without a large volume of millions of people that are willing to do horrible things to us. You talk about re-education camps and I guess you would call them in communism country. Was it pogroms? Is that the correct?
Yes, pogroms.
Yes, it's been a while since my poli-sci degree. Pogroms are conducted. You have to have people who are willing to conduct those pogroms. And since Americans, even though we're divided between liberals and conservatives and Republicans and Democrats, while we're not willing to put our mothers in camps, others from outside the country that are street-hardened, that are being promised a promised land to be exalted from the abject, terrible poverty conditions of Brazil and Mexico, will do quite horrendous things to us in exchange for being elevated in power above us. And that is the plan. And unfortunately, it's the plan that eventually is shared by both Barack Obama and globalists like Rick Perry.
Well, you're right. I'm digging around for an article about Cameron over in England, and it's got the headline, we will not let the British have a referendum on entering the EU, which then takes their sovereignty and jacks up their taxes, because I feel like we need to be part of it. I mean, it doesn't matter if 80+% are against it. They're going to do it. Doesn't matter if Congress has a 9% approval rating. They're going to do it. Doesn't matter if 99.9% didn't want the banker bailout. They're going to do it. And they're going to use the police state to clamp down on the American people. You know, I was driving through Texas, over 70 miles from the border yesterday. Never was in Mexico. Huge checkpoints they're building all over the country, some cases 100 miles deep. And they were pulling citizens, black, white, Hispanic, didn't matter, out of their cars, searching them. And they got to me in my RV. And I said, and I'm going to air this tonight on my TV show at 7. I said, you're not going to search me. And I said, I know the government's been caught bringing in the drugs. I know you let the illegals through. And they didn't. They kind of got in my face at first. And I said, look, it's unconstitutional what you're doing. You're not going to do it. They said, okay, go. And the point is they were smiling, too. They know their order to let the illegals through. They know their order was select packages to let the drugs in. That's come out in federal court. And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. You know, it's time. I don't even know what else to say anymore, my friend. It's just making me sick. Well, and we have to be careful about it. You know, I've said some comments on the another show. I won't mention the name of the show because out of decorum here, but a Christian radio show. And I mentioned that the Obama administration was placing American citizens into a terrible predicament by passing an amnesty, not even passing, that's the wrong word, by decreeing an amnesty via not even executive order. Executive order is too proper of a term to describe what he's done. Amnesty by memo is what he's done, okay? It's not passed by Congress. It's not an official executive order. It was not released to the media. It was done by memo and then leaked out, which is how this slimy, corrupt, criminal administration does its business, similar to the way George Bush did his business, except we never had the goods as much. He's putting the American public into a situation where they're like, okay, well, we've written Congress and we've faxed Congress and we've got involved in elections, and the election system is so far corrupted that it's either, we can't compete against the billionaire-funded globalist candidates, and even if we do get some good candidates in, it doesn't matter what Congress passed anyway, because the presidents, which are more beholden to Saudi Arabia, China, and George Soros, are going to do whatever. And it's putting the American public into the situation that I oppose, a situation I have fought to prevent, a situation that if it should ever escalate to this point, my job as the MLK and Gandhi politics of illegal immigration and immigration enforcement is over and failed. But Americans are being forced to choose between submission
just deal with it, accept it, ignore it, go on about your business. It's been done. Quiet now, bow your head, down on your knee. We'll get to you later. If you open your mouth, we'll get to you now. Submission versus extra political, violent, and illegal things that I can't even talk about because I don't know, I have no part in them, but it's where Americans are being